Well, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Really great to see so many of you. And if you do speak to, just so you know, if you do speak to anybody who isn't able to make this evening, do please just tell them to get in touch, and we're happy to rearrange more of these. I'm pretty sure most of you will know who I am. But if there is anybody who isn't, my name's Aaron. I'm one of the event directors for TFO Events, and it's been a privilege to have met so many of you in person and now by Zoom in response to this ride. I think I look back to, I can't remember the exact date, but nearly kind of 6 weeks ago, where we came on a kind of an evening and did the initial presentation, and a lot of people had a lot of questions. To where we are now, and for those of you who weren't on the call when I said earlier, we currently are standing at 68 riders, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a brilliant number, and I've been on a few rides with a few people, and it's great to see so much excitement and see everyone kind of raring to go now. So I think for us, the point of these calls is really to give you the opportunity, firstly, to ask any questions, send any thoughts, or talk to us about anything that you want to. We will run through a number of different things around training, around the ride itself, and then we'll have a kind of free for all as well at the end. If people feel that some of the questions they haven't managed, and after we end the call and someone's like, I forgot to ask that. Again, we like to keep the communications open as much as possible, so please don't hesitate. Use WhatsApp, use my personal details if you need to contact myself or Rich or Rebecca, or even just pick the phone up. But if that's okay, I'll start by talking a little bit about the period between now and then I'll just take questions as we go along, if that's all right. If people want to raise their hand or even just drop something in the chat, that's probably going to be the easiest way, because I think there's 28 of us on the call now. But do interrupt me. Apologies if I don't spot your hand raise or chat. If that's okay. Let's start then. So really, I think for us, there's been lots of questions that we've been asked, and lots of individuals have, asked about rides and, what they should be doing in this period between now and the 25th of April. I don't think there's been a question that's not been asked before, and I think most of the questions we do get asked are very, very similar. And people often ask about how much they should be training and how far should they be riding. I mean, training is something that you need to do. I'll be absolutely honest with you, and everyone will do it at their level and will do the distances that they feel comfortable with. I appreciate that everyone's coming into this starting from a different level of cycling. There will be people who are traditionally social cyclists, commuter cyclists, to club cyclists. What I'd say to you is, for this ride, most importantly, is that you are going to be riding as a group. So the one bit of training that I would say, as much as it's good to get out there and do hills, do flat sections, do longer sections, ride for 15 miles and then have a break and then ride again, ride on consecutive days. These are all things you do. The one thing I do ask you to do, and try as much as you can do, is to try and ride in a group with a few people at some point in time. And if that is something that you may not have the time or the opportunity to do, because maybe you're not based locally where others are, don't hesitate to come and talk with us. We're more than happy to come and do a little ride with yourself, just so you get used to a bit of group riding. The reason we say that is because this is the most important thing on the ride, is riding safely in a group. It's very different to riding safely on your own. There are guides that will be riding with you at all times, and they will be giving out commands, they will direct you, and they will be keeping you safe throughout. But just getting used to that group riding just changes the way that you
Has he frozen?
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Mute me. Aaron, if you can hear us, you've frozen. Do you want to put something on the chat? I'll just tell him.
Sorry,
Oh no, you're back.
I froze there for a second. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I got, but I think I was talking about group riding, and just having that experience will really make a difference. So if there was a chance that you can do that, I would encourage that. It's not about riding groups at a certain pace. You don't need to ride quickly. It's riding in a group and just getting used to managing junctions as a group, riding on faster roads as a group, riding on country lanes, riding on cycle paths, going around roundabouts. And when I say a group, even if there's 2 or 3 of you, that is absolutely fine. But that's something that will really help you. With regards to distances and times that you can train, now I know the majority of people here are pretty active and keep themselves active. I can see, Claire, you got a question. Let me take that question.
Just on the group riding.
Yes.
Just really briefly, is there some sort of etiquette on different roads where we're supposed to be riding like side by side versus in a single line? I don't actually know what the rules are, and because I am trying to get people out in groups, but I don't know what I'm doing either.
Okay, so
like we're all just...
As regards to riding on the road, we will at all times be riding single file. When we are in certain areas where the roads are quieter, we will ride in groups, so that will be 2 abreast. Now, I know the rules of the road are now that it's changed that cyclists can ride 2 abreast, but from a safety point of view, we will always ride in single file. That's our kind of default group riding position. But you will very quickly, as you kind of move through to some country lanes, you will see guides who will ride outside. So almost like an outrider. And that can be your signal for the fact that you can ride outside them as well. If you're riding 2 by 2, parallel like that, and you may hear a guide say, keep left. Yeah. Or you may hear a guide say things like car up or car back. These are just general signals that they are going to be saying to you. They may point or they may shout. I'd say the majority of our guides will shout, or they may say things like slowing or stopping. When you're hearing anything from a guide, my advice to you is as safely as possible, move to as close as you can to the left-hand side of the road. Yeah, I think you will gain experience as regards to what's the best way to do this as we go through the ride. But please don't be concerned. Please don't be worried about how you're going to be doing this. We will manage this for you. But often we just feel that if you have the opportunity to do this, if there's a quiet road or a residential road you live on, just try it up and down your residential road. And all you will do is just get used to riding with someone else quite close to you. And by all means, don't hesitate. If you're a group rider already, don't hesitate to continue with the shouts that you may hear all of us say. Now, some of you, when I rode last week, will probably have heard me shouting coming up to junctions. I often talk a bit too much, if I'll be honest with you. So, but it's all down to our safety. So please don't worry about, be concerned about it. But it's worth something to try if you can do in advance. Georgina, did you have a question? You're on mute, Georgina.
Okay. Hear me? Yes.
Yes.
It's about if we get to a roundabout and there's 68 of us, presumably cars take precedence, and if we're all single file, we have to we adhere to what the cars are doing, and then we follow. Like presumably, I mean, I will be at the back of the peloton. There is no doubt of that. But if someone goes, for 68 people to go around a roundabout, we're going to be, surely the line will be quite long. I mean, I will be right at the back. So when you say, have practice, riding with a group, each individual within that group has their own, they are responsible for themselves. So group is kind of a catch-all, is it?
So yeah, let me go on to explain of how when we ride actually on the route, how we will ride as well. So we will have a group of 68 riders, and there will be approximately 18 of my support team. So that will be the whole group. We will split into subgroups as we start, right from the start. I know we want to all leave the school as one group. So what we intend to do, we intend to leave the school as one big group. We will close, or we will marshal the road. As we come out of the school, we will turn right, and then we turn left immediately. And you'll know there's that little side road where there's a recreational ground and a car park on the left-hand right. Apologies, I don't know the name of that road. We will then stop there. When we stop there, so literally we will cycle 50 meters, we will then break into subgroups. And at those subgroups, it's almost like planes taking off. A subgroup of 8 to 10 riders will go, and there will be a 250-meter gap between each 8 to 10. Because when we go up to the main road and turn left, that is a road that is traffic, where traffic does go fast. Until we get to Mile Hill Road, after we've gone past the race course, we won't reform into slightly bigger groups, or we won't allow it to reform. What we will probably do is stay with those subgroups until we get to the first stopping point, which is in Chertsey. So the first 13 miles will be quite, I wouldn't say pedestrian, but they will be on the slower side, because we just want everyone to get used to the fact that they're riding in a subgroup, and to keep everyone together, but also to allow us to maintain the distances between. In each subgroup, we will have 2 to 3 riders from our guide team. They will all be wearing a high-vis tabard with a number on it. So you will know exactly who are the guides at all times, and you'll be able to see them. Those guides have 3 roles. One role is a hazard rider, and that person rides at the front of the subgroup. So if there's eight Lambrook riders or 10 Lambrook riders, there will be someone who will ride at the front, and they may ride at sometimes right on the front, or they may ride 50 meters on the front. They will tell the person on the front wheel what they intend to do. And the reason for that is there are certain areas where we need to warn the group behind with a bit more advance, so they'll ride a bit further on. So they're just pointing out hazards and shouting out hazards, usually in the city areas where the group will be traveling, or the subgroup will be traveling a bit slower, and they need to be aware of pedestrians. If I'll be honest, they're the main things, pedestrians stepping out, which are the main things to watch. Then we also have a group rider, and that group rider will cycle somewhere amongst the subgroup. The main reason for their role is that if that subgroup gets caught at a set of lights or a junction and it splits, they then become the front rider of the smaller subgroup. And then we have a back rider, who's someone who sits at the back of a subgroup. So again, this is your subgroup of 8 to 10 riders, who they will ride right at the back. So if anybody has to stop or drops off, nobody rides alone. So we have no lone riders. They will ride with them. So imagine if you multiply that all the way up to every single subgroup. In theory, that will work. In practice, there will be times where, because of junctions, roundabouts, traffic flows and stuff, that will change. But I know amongst the Lambrook group, we do have enough other strong experienced riders as well, where we will be talking to them, and you guys know who you are. We'll be talking to you on the morning and just advising you that in the event of a group splitting where you are in the group and there isn't a guide close by, you're more than welcome to take over and guide that group back to the subgroups. But that's the main thing to remember, that everyone will be split into a subgroup of 8 to 10, and with each of those, the guides will manage you. As regards to who goes in which group, we allow you to choose to start with. And then what we tend to do after the stop, so when we get to Banstead Golf Club for our morning food stop, we will say there's a group going now, and it will be a group of riders who want to ride at a certain pace, and then there'll be a more of a social group, and then there'll be a more of a middle group or whatever. But people, as you gradually go through the ride, you will work out what you want to do at different stages, and there'll be times where you think, actually, I'd like to ride a bit quicker and go with one of the quicker groups, or you might think, I'd actually like to just hang back and chat with this person, or you might change your mind and say, well, actually, I'd like to do a little bit of this pace and a bit of that pace. We will manage all of those situations for you, but the only thing we do say is when groups do leave stopping points, there is a small window for you to join a group. Often we find people want to join a group, but they're in the toilet, they come out and the group's gone. Unfortunately, in that situation, they will have to join another group. And it's often the way with some of the quickers. So if you do want to ride a bit quickly in some of the latter stages, we do urge you to be ready earlier on, and I will give a briefing before every stop we leave. So after the briefing, I will say first group leaving in X number of minutes. So you'll know if you want to go in one of the quicker groups, the quicker group will be leaving usually a few minutes after I've finished my briefing. So that's really the overall kind of start of the ride, how the groups will work, and how we will manage the groups as well, and group riding. I always get asked the question of what's the pace. The pace is the pace that we are comfortable at. The pace is the pace that we think is safe at. The city roads, the town roads, the slightly faster roads will be at a slower pace for obvious reasons, because of junctions, pedestrians, roundabouts, etc., etc. The lanes that we go in, some of them we can ride at a quicker pace. Others we'll be managing in a certain way. You don't need to worry about not knowing. I will brief you on all of these things throughout the ride. You'll be sick of me by the end of the ride, but it's only to keep you all as perfectly safe as possible. But that's it. And then the question I always get asked is how far do I need to cycle on my training? And I would say, having someone who's did this for the first time in 2006, and you'll see I'm not one of the strongest cycling, in our cycle team group. I would say if by the 15th of April you have done a 2-day consecutive ride of 35 and 45 miles, and that's if anybody's run a marathon or half marathon, that's your 18 and 20 miles. That's the bit that will be fine for you. If you can do a 2-day consecutive 35 and 45, and I don't mean continuous, I mean 35 miles, take a break every 12 miles. So you're doing 12, break for 15 minutes, 20 minutes break, have something to eat, have a drink, 12 miles, have another break, 12 miles on day one, play on a Saturday. And then on Sunday, if you repeat that with an additional 10 at the end, then I am 100%, and I know people say you can never be 100% confident. I'm absolutely confident that you will all get there. There'll be no problem there. If for some reason, you pick up an injury in the time beforehand, and you can only ride on a spin class, or you don't manage to do that, please don't worry. Please don't feel, oh, I can't do that. It's not a problem. It's not something. Do let us know, because then we can talk to you about what's the best way for you to prepare. But that's for someone who's come into this and has been a social cyclist and thinking, what's my kind of litmus test before the ride? I would say that would be a really good litmus test. If you manage 30 and 40, that's absolutely fine. When I did my first London to Paris, I think I did a 33 and a 40-mile ride, and then I rode it the week after, and I was fine. And I was a social cyclist when I started riding. I probably still am a social cyclist. I probably like to think I'm not, but I probably really still am. And that's all really I've got about training. Are there any questions? Are there any thoughts? I'm just looking to see. Aaron?
Groups. Thank you, Aaron. That is good. That comforts me.
Aaron, just a question on day one. How many breaks
Yes.
are we going to take? How are we going to break up the days in general?
Okay, so we excuse me, sorry, I'm just admitting something. We will break the day up. On day one, we will leave Lambrook. Our first stop will be in Chertsey, which is approximately 12.5 to 13 miles. And that's what we will call a mini stop. And that is a stop where there will be one of our paramedic vehicles. There'll be energy snacks, water, everything you need. And that stop is your guides, as you come close to that stop, will say to people who would like to stop. If you want to stop us, or if one person in the group wants to stop, the whole group will stop. And at those mini stops, we usually, if you do stop, try and keep you moving within 10 minutes. So it's a quick stop. After that, the next stop is in Surbiton, which is approximately another 10 miles, just give or take. And then we have our first food stop, which is at 31 miles, which is Banstead Downs Golf Club. And at that, everyone will stop, everyone will rejoin. We have food laid on for you. We're inside the golf club. And everyone will have a good half an hour to 45-minute break. So you're looking at 3 sections for each day. day one, as it is, as we are going for actually slightly longer, but we do the longer sections in the morning. So by the time you get to the last section, it is quite a small one. So your first section is around 31 miles, but we're stopping approximately every 11 miles. Then after that, we've got our next stop, which is in a place called Linfield, which is approximately another 28 miles. And then once we leave Linfield, after another long stop, and you have a feed there as well, it's only 22 miles to New Haven, where we finish for the day. So work on the fact that you will be getting an opportunity to have a break or a scheduled break every 12 miles. But if you need to have a break, or you need to stop, or you need to use a toilet, there are places along the way. Please just let one of your guides know. The group can carry on and you can stop and join the group behind you. So there's no problem, because we've got a lot of cyclists. If someone needs to stop, all we'll do is a guide will stop with them, and then as the next group comes through, they will just sweep up and join that group. If you're in the last group, that's still not a problem. A guide will stop with you, and a guide will ride with you until you catch up with the group or arrive at the next stopping point. So please don't worry. There's plenty of restaurants, pubs, community centres. There's lots of places where they have facilities. There's lots of places that if you need food, drink, water or something around. But we also have 4 vehicles on the road. So at any point, if at any problem, anybody's got a problem, we can have a vehicle to you very, very quickly.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask, when you talk about sort of the fast, medium and slow paced sort of groups, roughly what speed, when you're on the open road, what sort of speed would each of those groups be?
We never talk in speeds, unfortunately, Alan, because when we look at groups, we let a group maybe go faster, but only go faster based on the fact that it will always be absolutely safe. We don't know what the road conditions, the weather conditions, the size of the group is at this stage. So I can't really answer that question with a speed. But what I will say is that if there are a group of riders who have regularly ridden quickly, are part of a club or a regular ride on a Sunday or those riders will naturally come together. And they will go at a pace that our guides will be happy to manage. Now, Rich is just seen join the call. Rich is one of our strongest riders as well. So I would say, yes, it is a very good pace, because we've always had strong riders kind of enjoyed the fact that they had the open chance to open the legs, but at the same time, we have to take into account all the unpredictables, and that's what determines the pace.
No, well, I wasn't expecting to necessarily be in the fast-paced group or whatever, but I was just trying to get an idea of how many miles per hour do you sort of normally expect a sort of fast, medium and a slow group to be? Subject to road conditions and all that sort of stuff.
I'd say the way to look at this is that this is a group ride, and everyone will ride in subgroups, but ultimately as a group, we will be looking and we will be putting the time in the day, including breaks, to people to be riding at approximately 10 to 11 miles an hour. And in some cases it may be a little bit slower at points, and in other cases it'll be quicker. But overall, over the whole period of the day, I think there will be people that will ride a lot quicker, and there will be some people hearing me say that thinking, oh, that's a bit slow, and some people thinking, oh, that's kind of about the level I'm at. But overall, the time that we put in for the day, the stops, and managing this in the most safest way is that we look at a pace of around 10 miles an hour. But that's just an average pace to get us through today and manage the day.
Okay.
Brilliant. Sorry, was that someone else asking a question?
I like sort of to use that 7+ hours of cycling. Woo!
So the next bit I was going to talk about was kit. I've just seen Rich. You've joined. I know, Rich, you might be probably better placed to talk about kit as well, and what you think.
Yeah, we can talk about kit. That's absolutely fine. For those people that I haven't said hello to yet, hi everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. It's great to see everybody here. Yeah, just to go off the back of what Aaron was saying about kit. So kit can kind of be split up into different things. So you've got kit as in clothing, kit as in and other items to bring with you. So in terms of clothing, a lot of you have asked already about how much or how little that you need to have. Generally, the thing that we need to stress is we need to keep everybody's bags to a maximum of 2 bags. So I'm not sure if Aaron's, just because I was a little bit late and I do apologize, I'm not sure if Aaron's touched on this, but essentially when you come and do the challenge, you're going to have 2 bags with you. You're going to have an overnight bag and you're going to have a day bag. Your overnight bag is going to have all your major items in that you don't need throughout the day. When you leave the hotel in the morning, that overnight bag will go into one of the vans, and it is very unlikely that you'll see that bag again until you get to the evening at the next hotel. Your day bag will be a little bit more accessible, so you will have that at most, but not all of the stops throughout the day. So if you need things like additional layers or your own snacks or wallet, keys, whatever it might be that you want access to on a regular basis, you have that in your day bag. So we just need to make sure that people keep their bags down to a minimum. In terms of kit, ideally aim, if you can, for 1 full riding kit per day. Usually that consists of a pair of shorts or leggings, a jersey or top or gym top or whatever it is that you're going to be riding in. Some form of base layer, which is useful even on the warmer or more mild days. A base layer is a good idea, and then with you off the back of that, have some kind of waterproof, windproof layer that you're happy to ride in, so something that's not really thick, and maybe something like a couple of fleeces or like gym or training hoodies, the sort of quick drying but the insulating ones, things that you can take on and take off throughout the day. Other than that, in terms of what you're going to wear in the evening, general clothing, it's a good idea to try and keep that down to a minimum, instead of don't think that you'll need 8 outfits for the challenge. But yeah, so in terms of actually on your bike, that is kind of what you will need for the day. Do bear in mind that there will be periods of time, for example, when we get to New Haven and we're waiting to board the ferry, or at the morning of day 2, so in Dieppe, when we've got off the ferry and we're waiting to start riding, there are going to be periods of time where you're stood around not exercising and therefore getting cold, potentially. So it's a good idea to have some kind of layer or something to keep you warm that you're happy to have. That's basically it in terms of, unless Aaron wants to add anything else to that, in terms of actual kit, other than the obvious things like helmet. If you ride in gloves, then gloves, that kind of thing. But yeah, try and aim for 3 full riding day kits per day.
I want to put my hand up.
Hi, Claire.
Sorry, this may not be a question for you actually, Rich, but on the packing front, does anyone know where we're actually having this dinner in Paris on the last night? And do we need anything smart for that? I mean, I'm assuming like all the other nights we can be relatively casual.
Like a ball dress.
Well, quite, Sarah. You know, and if I haven't got enough room for my hair straighteners and stuff like that.
I'll bring those. Don't worry, we can share.
So with regards to the evening meal on the final night, I'll send you a photo tomorrow, because Rebecca and I'm actually in France at the moment riding, and I'm riding to Paris tomorrow, and Rebecca and I are going there. So it's called Siempre. It's in an area which is very close to the Eiffel Tower. It is just it's like a nice French bistro pub. It serves bistro food. It's not something that you need to wear your glad rags for, but by all means, don't feel, if you want to, wear something nice in the evening, then by all means, no problem whatsoever. Hopefully it will be nice and warm. There's a nice terrace outside as well. But I would try and encourage you to bring stuff that you can pack into a small kind of either wheelie bag.
So I could still get away with jeans and a shirt.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. No.
That's all I have.
Yeah, no, but you're in. It's not the poshest of French restaurants, but it's a lovely little bistro. You're in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. and after the meal, you're very close to Notre Dame and stuff. And, if you did want to go to a wander to some other bars and restaurants, there's plenty around and you're in the tourist area, and you can get some lovely shots of the Eiffel Tower by just wandering around the corner by night as well. So it's lovely there. But
it's delicious, a delicious bistro.
Oh, it's fantastic.
They have a fantastic group of waiters who just, I don't know sometimes how they do so many covers, but they're just very well oiled and well drilled, and the food's very, very good.
And that is important after 201 miles.
Yeah, and they do plenty of fine wines, and the espresso martinis are always very, very popular as well. So I've been told.
Parfait.
Good to see we get any important questions.
Sorry, Aaron, I just cut you off there. I'm so sorry, man. Has anybody got any other questions on kit, or is everybody fairly happy with sort of like the requirements or expectations that?
Rich, I've got questions. If we were to have a puncture in the tire or something, is that where someone like you would help us out?
No, everybody is solely responsible for all the mechanical and maintenance issues on their bike during the. No, I'm only joking with you. No, so all of your maintenance and your mechanical issues are covered. So there is myself, and there is another mechanic that will be riding, that will be part of the day, that will be accessible all the time. So your first point of call for any kind of incident like a puncture will be your guide. Most not if not all of the guides are handy enough mechanically to be able to sort out minor issues. If there is anything major, then there's myself or Ian who will be on hand, and we will be riding with I'm not going to say a full workshop kit, but a full roadside / trailside repair kit that we can fix pretty much anything roadside. So yeah, we will be there to help you out with that.
Okay, thank you.
The only one thing I was going to say on kit is don't forget a French adapter plug. Often is, I mean, they're very expensive, but do remember one of them. Depending on which ferry, and we don't know if we're going to be on one of the DFDS French ferries or DFDF English ferries, the plug sockets will be according to which one of those boats we end up on that evening.
And do you guys carry our day bags, or are we meant to have them like on our backs or around our waist?
We have 4 vehicles. So we have 2 large vans. One large van will be carrying all the overnight bags, and that will be going from start to finish stops. There'll be another van that will be carrying day bags, and then there'll be an ambulance, a blue light ambulance, and then there'll be a car, the works vehicle, which will also have a paramedic in it, a qualified paramedic. Those vehicles will tend to carry snacks and emergency medical equipment, but the large vans will be for the day bags. And the van that carries the day bag that you will see more and more as you go to the main stops. They won't be at the mini stops, but will be at the bigger stops, like, for example, Banstead, for example, our lunch stop in Linfield, etc., etc.
The idea, Georgina, is that when you're actually riding, you carry as little stuff as possible. So the idea is that you don't need to, unless you absolutely want to, ride with a backpack and that kind of thing. The idea is to be literally you, perhaps a few basic tools if you have them, and some snacks to last you from leg to leg, and that's it.
Fine.
Yeah, and if you do have a bag, or you really want to cycle with a small rucksack, I'd encourage you to try not to. If you do find one of the guides, because it may be easier for them to carry, because we're used to carrying kit. But if it's all possible, saddlebags for your bikes. We will have snacks and tools with us as well. But try, and if you can, cycle with no backpack.
I definitely don't want any additional weight.
Someone.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to ask about like bike storage, like overnight or on the way back. Do we need to carry like bike locks, chains, or will you guys have some in the van? Do I need to bring my own stuff? Like anything about that? Any information?
That's a really good question. On the first night, we'll be on the ferry. And the bikes will be in a designated area on the car deck. so they'll be perfectly safe there. You'll cycle onto the ferry and then walk up to the area. The second night, we have 2 hotels that we're in. One hotel has a boardroom that we rent, so all the bikes will be placed in there and they'll all be kept in there. And then on the final night, there's no need, because when we get to the Eiffel Tower, after that, we go to the relevant hotels and our vehicles start collecting your bikes. And then we all reconvene at the restaurant, and then a bunch of myself and my team, we start bringing the bikes back to the UK while you guys enjoy yourself. So you don't need to worry about your bike the day after. It will be brought back to Lambert School, which has to be collected by 8:15 on Monday morning. Is that correct, Laura? Have I got that time right?
By 9 o'clock on the Monday
9
morning.
o'clock. 9 o'clock.
But if it's a problem, then just let us know.
Yeah. And if anybody isn't, I mean, if you have a rental bike, you don't need to worry. We will take that back. But if anybody isn't able to collect their bike, we can take it back to our storage, which is in Tunbridge Wells, and we can arrange a convenient time to come to London and bring it to you and meet you somewhere to return it to you. We'd be happy to do that, but we'd need to know that just in advance so we can make sure it goes in the right vehicle.
Okay. And my second question, if I may, sorry, it's about insurance. So like on your website, it mentions several times, have your own travel insurance, bike insurance, health insurance, whatever. So I don't know if you ever heard of a company called LAKA, L-A-K-A. Just like when I bought my bike from Sigma Sports, whatever, they give us a little blurb. They have a bit of travel insurance, they have a health insurance, and the third party liability insurance. And I wonder, like, if I printed out their certificates they have, I wonder if that's kind of good enough, or do I need to do anything more or anything else like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there by calling it liability insurance, because that's the difference between the travel and the medical insurance. Most people have traveling insurance, usually with, some aspects of what they have, but liability insurance is something that you do need to have to do this event. Now, I've not heard of the company you just mentioned. The ones we use, we recommend is, one is either British Cycling. If you have a British Cycling membership, then you get liability insurance as part of that, as long as you choose the right one that includes it. Or the other company is a company called Yellow Jersey, and if you go to Yellow Jersey, you can get the insurance from them depending on what value your bike is. So for example, if you have a bike which is valued in the region of £2,000, I'd say you're paying around £35 to £45. And accordingly, you can kind of drop down from that. But the liability insurance just covers you for your cycling on the route. So if you have a rental bike, you will still need to have liability insurance to cover you. But as regards to any rental, any cycle insurance to cover the actual bike, that's something that we cover, and you don't need to worry about that.
Gotcha. Okay. So as long as so kind of the main criteria you have is that we have some sort of third party liability insurance.
Yeah, and I mean, by the fact that you said it was kind of an affiliate of Sigma Sports, who are a well-known, respectable cycle brand, I'm pretty confident that they will be. There's plenty of brokers and insurance companies. I'm pretty sure they would be fine.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Fair.
Do we need to get the bike serviced again before we assuming, of course, that we're all going to be terribly keen and do all this lovely training? Do the bikes need servicing again before we leave?
Rich, I'll let you take that one because you've got the service day, haven't you?
No worries, I'll take that one. Okay, so everybody that hasn't rented a bike from us, i.e. those people that are going to be using their own bikes for the challenge, we do say that you need to make sure that when you arrive at the start line, they are in a serviced condition and ready to go. The onus then will be on the owner of that bike to do so. If you have rented a bike from us, so typically when we do an event, we get anywhere between 10 and 15 bike rentals. So for you guys, we've got nearly 40 bikes that have been rented out, which is amazing. As a result of that, we've decided that the best way of offering the service, because all of your bike rentals through us do include a pre-ride service. We've been working very closely with Laura, and Laura has very, very kindly agreed that on Saturday, the 20th of April, so the Saturday before we go, Myself, another mechanic, and some of the TFA events team will be on site at Lambrook School, and we will be servicing all of the bikes on that day. So you will all be receiving some communications from either myself or Rebecca in the next day or two. But essentially, you'll need to, if possible, get the bike to us early-ish morning on the Saturday, leave it with us for the day, and then arrange collection of said bike later that afternoon. That will be about 4 or 5 days before you start your challenge. So your bike will be ready to go. Unless, of course, you're planning on putting an extra 1,000 miles in between the Saturday and the Thursday, in which case you may want to get the bike checked over again.
That's probably not even advised, is it, Rich?
No, you want to taper off, don't you, Claire? Absolutely right. Taper off your train.
Rest the legs.
Absolutely. I believe I'm going to be resting those few days, aren't I?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that will be the plan for the rentals. So I can see somebody's got.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No problem at all, Claire. Is that Sophia?
Hi, yes. I had a question, which is just that if we're using our own bike, would you be able to service it for us for a fee?
I'll be completely honest with you. Our priority will be the bikes on that day will be the bikes that we have already rented out, because our obligation is to see all those people through, because that's part of the service package and the rental package. You're more than welcome to get in touch with us prior to, and I'm sure that we can arrange. It might be earlier, so it might be that your bike drop me an email, I think is the best thing to do, if you don't mind, Sophia, but it might be that your bike can be collected the week before and then returned for that Saturday. But if it's not one of our rental fleet, then it will be subject to a service charge. But if you drop me an email and that's something that you're interested in, I will get back to you individually.
Perfect.
Not a problem at all. Roman.
So it's probably an odd question, but I've got a triad bike. It's a triathlon bike with only tri bars. It doesn't have normal, what are they? Kind of normal bars. Is that all right? I've done long rides kind of with it.
I'll be completely honest. I think you'll struggle. Couple of reasons. The first reason is the nature of the ride at a less racy / more leisurely pace. You may find it more difficult to control the bike at lower speeds, and a slightly, let's call it, a less consistent travel. So obviously with triathlon, you are moving for the entire duration of your leg. This is far more broken up. It's a little bit more stop start, so you might find it a little bit tricky in those terms. I'll be honest, it's not actually a request that we've had before. My advice would be to not, purely based on that. The other thing to bear in mind as well is that when you are, and obviously you'll know because it's your own bike, but when you are in that tri position, generally you are, your body is in a position and a constant state of work. So your legs and your lower body will be taking a lot of the load over your arms. In this kind of ride, there will be significant times where your speed and your average cadence will be lower. So you might find it uncomfortable over a long distance.
Okay, cool. I'll try a few rides together with the group and see sort of how we go together. And then, thank you. But technically, legally, it's fine, because some 100-milers in London, they didn't allow me to. So that they kind of, for some strange reason, when there are large groups of people.
I think generally speaking, it's due to the control of the bike in a large group. That will probably be the justification for those events.
Thank you.
And Roman, that segues into my next point, which was going to be about training rides, because you mentioned that. I know we've done a couple, and it's lovely to catch up with a few people in the last few weeks, and do a couple of rides on the less rainy days. We are planning to do more, and I think there's an appetite for more. What I would say is for people just to suggest times that would be good for yourselves. Now, for us, Wednesday, Thursdays, Fridays are probably better than Saturdays for all of us. But if there are people that want to do some rides, early morning rides and stuff, we're more than happy to arrange and come along. And there's a few of us as well, so we can split up into groups. And there also are some strong riders within this group as well. So, you know, by all means, if you're happy to join us and you know, be part of the group to help others as well, we'd welcome you to come and join us as well. So what I would say is over the next few weeks, please do suggest some times, and happy to do that. There are some people who've also suggested riding the route itself as well, and I'm happy to do that. Rich and I, we've ridden it twice already. I'm going to do a third risk assessment of the route, and then I'm happy for anybody who wants to ride maybe from Lambrook to Banstead. We can take you on that ride. I'd probably say that's likely to be after the Easter break, so maybe probably like the second week of April or so. But again, do get in touch. Michael, I know you did as well, so do get in touch, and we can arrange that just so people get a chance. But some of you may not want to. You may want the route to be a lovely surprise.
Sorry,
Another
Aaron,
quick.
just on that training front, Aaron. I have spoken to a couple of people today, pretty much about this. So you are in a pretty unique opportunity where you've got a very large group of people who haven't necessarily integrated it for one thing in terms of sport and training, like you have had the opportunity to do so for this. So use this time to just network between you. There are a few people that are thinking about putting on their own kind of like little rides and opening it up to the group where they're having tea or coffee at their house beforehand and then going off for a training ride. If that's something that you're keen on doing and you want to network with the group, stick it in the group chat, get people in. If you want to go out for a bike ride and you want to do it from your house and you want to do it a day and invite more people to come and ride with you, or you're in Henley-on-Thames or Windsor or Bracknell and you've got these little pockets, network and just invite people along, get out for bike rides, open it up, let people know when you're going out, just so people can join. Because a lot of the time it's the effort of going, oh, I've got to think about where I've got to go, and I've got to think about the distance, I've got to think about a meeting point and a stopping point. If you're happy to sort of do that and do it as a group and just bring people into your training, absolutely get that done, because that is a brilliant way of riding with new people.
Roman, I know you did ask about the rides in London. We don't actually have any planned, but maybe kind of get in touch with us separately and we'll see if there's something, or we've got a group. We've got other members of our guide team who live up in there, so maybe we can connect you with one of them and they might be able to go for a ride with you.
That was someone else. I'm Sunningdale. I'm locally based. I think I don't remember who.
I apologize.
But I had a question about bike lights. Advisable, necessary? Is it the law in France? I don't know what to say. The front light, back light.
So we ask everyone to have a front and rear light bike. If you arrive and you don't have a front and rear light bike, we have some wrap lights that we will put on your bike. It isn't law, but we advise it from a safety point of view, and we would need you to have them from a safety point of view. As regards to a bell as well, that is actually law in France. We have spare bells that you can put on your bikes. It's not something that there's going to be gendarmes, you know, stopping our pelotons all every half an hour or so because we haven't got bikes. I'd say we are doing a lot of cycling on the Avenue Vert, which is a traffic-free disused railway line, which is now being converted into a beautiful cycle path. You do tend to get a lot of pedestrians, walkers, runners, and a lot of them you're cycling behind them as well. So it is advisable from a safety point of view. And I know some of you are very precious about some of the things on your handlebars and stuff, but if you can, by all means. If you've not got one, don't worry. We have a stack in the van. On the morning of the ride, we will be handing them out. So it's 8 o'clock. I know we had this call till 8 o'clock. Are there any further questions? Anything that anybody has?
Just one more question, right? And on end of day one, but where are the shower facilities? Are they in the terminal or are they in the?
So when we arrive at Newhaven, we are actually arriving at Newhaven Football Club, and we've rented out Newhaven Football Club. We tend to find places that are local charity. They're a local charity as well, which is why, and we've got their whole facility. we'll be using their showers that they've got there, and we'll be having our evening meal, which is fish and chips, local fish and chips, in their dining and their bar area as well. So whenever on arrives, you'll have the opportunity to freshen up. They're very good quality showers. We don't worry about towels if you have a towel, but we have a stack of towels, shower gels, all that stuff there available for everyone. And as people will be arriving in groups, people will be using the facilities throughout the evening. We expect the first riders to arrive around 5, and we won't be leaving there till about 8:30. So you're going to have a good few hours to relax, freshen up, and have some food and maybe a cheeky little drink.
Great, thank you.
Georgina.
Aaron, that was a very prescient question. As I understand, it's quite basic, the facilities. And in the UK, in terms of loo facilities, and this is in the spirit of full disclosure, as 68 of us are all cycling our way to Paris, to the Eiffel Tower. Am I right in thinking that when we're in France, there is not necessarily the opportunity to go to the loo for potential riders who may have lost their pelvic floor, in childbirth, etc.
They're
honest and sort of gave me the lowdown.
There are places along the Avenue Vert which are facilities where you can use the toilets. These are public facilities. There are also plenty of cafes and restaurants which are on adjacent roads. When you're on the Avenue Vert, you do feel like you're kind of in the middle of the countryside and very far from any town or from any. But realistically, you're only within 200 meters of the main road, and we know where there are cafes, bars. So if there is anybody who does need to use the facilities and it feels like, oh, I can't see anywhere near, just let one of the guides know, and one of the guides will be advised where they can go very, very quickly. But what they will do is they'll drop up to the main road, which is usually only 100 meters north or south of where you are. And along there, I'm sure they'll be able to find something for you. But there are facilities at the start. There are facilities along the route as well.
The start is fine. I'm just thinking about en route. And Rebecca was a little bit more candid, Aaron. She said that in France, often they're shut, the public loos.
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, while,
Yeah, I mean, Georgina, all I can say is I've ridden this ride 100 times, and I've ridden Dieppe to Paris over 100 times. There are plenty of places that they may not be obvious. If there is a place along the Avenue Vert, there are public facilities. If one of them is shut, we won't just say that's it. We'll go and find another place for you. But we know where the routes are. I mean, if you're happy, I'm more than happy to ride with you along that period, because then if there is an issue, I know very, very quickly where we can find somewhere.
No, it's fine. It's just I think it's important people doing the ride know that the more gritty sort of elements of what this holds in store. And it's brilliant that you've identified there are loads of available facilities in restaurants that might be up the road or on a different route. I don't need to purchase a shiwi is basically the answer.
Add that to the kit list, Rich.
Added.
Brilliant. If that's it, I mean, Laura, Jonathan, would you two like to say anything? I mean, you two have been brilliant in helping us bring the group together and manage everything, and Laura, you've been fantastic helping us use the school for rides, etc.
I think from my perspective, I would just like to express, first of all, enormous thanks to every one of the parents who have kindly decided to set aside time from work in order to support this amazing adventure together. We are so grateful to every single one of you. And I think probably from just our conversations, there should be sufficient spread of ability and fitness between us all to ensure that we can all have a great ride together, whatever pace we want to cycle at. And then secondly, enormous thanks to Aaron and Rich and the team. The more I listen to what you've actually put in place, the more I'm impressed with you as a firm. I had no idea we'd be riding with 18 other sort of support riders and such as well. That only gives us all further confidence. So enormous thanks from me. I'm huge admiration of every single one of you here. Please be reassured that I need to do a fair amount of training. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Brilliant, great. Okay. If there's no further questions, please enjoy your evenings. Please do get in touch with Rich and myself on any of the things we've raised. And yeah, we really look forward to seeing some of you sooner, if not in April.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.